Welcome back to another daily walk. Today I want to spend some time talking about the mark of the beast. And we talked about this before, but I wanted to mention it because we're seeing some things showing up in our world, which is starting to become the technology that will ultimately become the mark of the beast. You see, that mark is going to be a counterfeit of some of the other things that we see going on in the world. It is going to be a counterfeit of something that God does. Because of course, if you look back, all of those events that Satan does is a counterfeit of the things that God is truly doing. And so I want to first go back and have a look at this verse from Ezekiel 9:4. This is depicting some future events in Jerusalem. And at one point in time, God says here, the Lord said to him, "Go through the midst of the city, even through the midst of Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and groan over the abominations which are being committed in its midst." And the idea is that before God is sending a destroying angel through, he is actually going to send out an angel to mark the foreheads of all of the people. And in that mark of the foreheads of all of the people, those are the ones who are going to be saved. It's very much like the Passover, where the people who are saved from the slaying angel, they are the ones who have the mantle marked over their door. And what we'll see over the progression of the revelation is a movement from God being more national versus personal. And so we see that mark, which is really that insignia that this is a person not to impact with the mark. Now, of course, the mark of the beast itself is Revelation 13, 16, and 17. He causes all, the small, the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on the right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, so we have this idea of the mark of the beast. Now, of course, some churches will say, well, we don't even need to worry about that because we'll all be gone in the rapture. Well, the problem is that that's not where the rapture is. The mark of the beast happens before that. And what we're going to see is a parallel economy arise by which the Christians and the Jews are still here during a great persecution, and they are the ones who have rejected the mark. The Jews and the Christians are the ones that are able to reject this. Most of the rest of the world follows along with it and ends up being destroyed for that perilous choice. The challenge is that the mark of the beast technology is going to be some form of technology. And we're seeing the beginnings of this with tracking systems. And now, of course, it's big to talk about the UK digital ID program that they're trying to roll out. Now, another thing to pay attention to in the midst of this is the year 2030. Now, this is not a prophecy of this is when the rapture is or anything like that. What I'm saying by mentioning this point here is that there are a lot of interesting things the world has to say about 2030. And I think it boils down to a satanic system which has in some way demonically influenced a lot of world leaders, because the reason there's so much buzz around 2030 is because there was a 2030 agenda put forth by the World Economic Forum, which was this discussion with a bunch of global leaders. You also had the Davos conference, which again was these global leaders trying to shape the economy, all in worldly systems and engaging in some of the worst forms of blasphemy and paganism we've ever seen. This really is the evil manifestation of the evil going on in the world. I mean, I kid you not, it sounds crazy. And it sounds like, well, you should replace that thing with a tinfoil hat. The reality is, if you look into it, these are all real things. Of course, World Economic Forum threw out a video a number of years ago, probably a little over a decade ago now, on Twitter, and it had this fairly androgynous, fairly mixed race type of guy just smiling at the camera with a caption that said, "It's 2030, I own nothing and I'm happy." And they rolled this out kind of like, oh, people think this is great. Wow, look at this economy. It's like, basically it's pushing out forth this communist agenda effectively, which is kind of crazy in and of itself. Of course, they ended up taking that down because of the massive amount of backlash. People looking at that, of course, now among some circles, the idea of eat the bugs is thrown around as a joke because these guys really want us to eat bugs. I kid you not. This is real stuff if you spend some time digging into it. But what happened is this 2030 agenda. And wouldn't you know it, when is that UK digital ID that's being really talked about right now? When is it supposed to be in full effect? Before the next session, which is 2029. So leading into 2030, they have this digital ID over there. Of course, Russia right now is working on it. China already has it. It's called WeChat in China, and it merges payments, identity documents, and everything else. China effectively has a stranglehold control over its citizens. Russia right now, this month, just rolled out, starting September 1st, 2025, Russia just rolled out a requirement that the Russian version of the same app modeled off of WeChat has to be pre-installed on every phone sold inside of Russia. And so we're seeing the similar things going there, and then the UK gets into it. Now, how does all of this match into the mark of the beast here? Well, what you notice about the mark of the beast is it is required to participate in any form of payment or participation in society. Well, in UK, what struck most people is when the guy stands up with full force authority and says, "You will not be able to work without this digital ID." That's kind of frightening. Now, as I said, this is a transitional technology. This is not, what's going on in the UK is not the mark of the beast. It is a transitional technology pinning all of this stuff to a phone app. And of course, they do have a plan in there. What if somebody doesn't have a smartphone? They do have a plan being implemented for those that do not have a smartphone. So that certainly is something that, that is being looked at as well. However, the question now becomes is, well, what do you do with these people without it? Well, Sweden, this is almost going back a decade ago, they were trying to get really big into the RFID technology, and they were actually, many companies, I don't remember if it's the government, but I know it was many companies were saying, hey, we will pay for you if you want to get an RFID chip embedded in your hand. You can then sync that chip to your car, to your work office, everything else. So instead of carrying around an ID card to swipe over there and access it, or instead of having the NFC technology built into your phone and accessing it, you just go up with your hand, access it, and boom, it lets you into the doors. You can sync them to your payment systems. Boom, you just wave your hand over the cash register. These potato chips are the ones I am looking for. And boom, automatically pays. But even that doesn't sound super mark of the beast. But then I remembered a couple years ago, MasterCard started to experiment with something. They literally used in their boardroom notes, with your head or your hand, all based on biometrics, your head or your hand. You can now, they were experimenting it on a limited run, and I forget what country they were doing it. It was like some small country that would stay off the blip of the radar. But they were experimenting with full-fledged biometrics tied into either your fingerprints, your palm print, like Amazon did with the Whole Foods experiment, or your biometric face ID, facial recognition. And they would tie this into your MasterCard account. And what happened then is you could just go over and instead of entering in credit card details or swiping a card, you just use your biometric prints. It was in their board notes, your face or your hand, to authenticate you as being involved in the payment system. Well, if that's not creepy enough, I was looking in for that article last night, and that article was from 2022. I'm like, is there any movement forward in this since 2022? Well, wouldn't you know it, there's actually an article that just came out a couple of months ago talking about, guess what year? 2030. By 2030, MasterCard does not want any online retailer to be using credit card numbers. They want everything embedded into the systems to be used with authentication tokens verified biometrically with a facial ID scan or a handprint. So this is now MasterCard. Isn't it funny? It's called MasterCard. Yes, Master, I would like my potato chips. You just have to, you can have your potato chips. You just have to verify you can participate in our economy with your hand or with your head. Okay, and so what we see is the mark of the beast is going to be a forced technology to participate in the mainstream economy, which forces you to utilize biometric tokens to verify with your face and your hand, and there will be no other option. They want to ban the use of cash. They want digital centralized currency. So of course, anybody with any form of dissenting viewpoints, they can just be toggled off in a quick instant. And that is how you cannot buy or sell anything without the digital economy. We are pushing forward to that. And what we have to do to resist that, we have to get involved. Now, do I think that we're going to stop this? No, it's prophesied, and it not only is it prophesied as going to happen, it's also something God decrees is going to happen as part of his unfolding plan to usher in his return. So we're not going to stop it, but what can we do? Well, we got to make sure that we're the ones in heaven, and that means following Jesus Christ. And what that means is that we have to become reliant on external parallel economy things so we can still engage in buying and selling without being a main participant in the mainstream society, because everybody that is caught up in that mainstream society, guess what? They are the people who have accepted the mark of the beast. And the Bible is very clear. Everybody who receives the mark of the beast is going to be cast into hell. Do not take it, do not accept it. But pay attention to the things going on around you and examine those places for the parallel economy. Examine the ways that you can move beyond all of these realms. This is kind of crazy stuff, people, and we have to be paying attention to what's going on in the world around us, because that's really is that message. Pay attention to the signs. Well, if you're not paying attention to the signs, guess what? You are the people that are caught unaware by the thief who comes in at an unknown hour. But we, as it says in 1 Thessalonians, we are not of the darkness that the night should overcome us, but instead we are of the people of the light. If we are not paying attention, we are going to get caught up into the mark of the system, mark of the beast system. We will be cast into hell. And then in that last day, as it says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 23, Lord, Lord, did we not cast out demons in your name and do many wonderful works? He will say to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice wickedness. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Pay attention to what's going on in the world around us, because it is coming, and it is coming sooner than you think. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below.